Hey everyone, it's Ben from TheBennScented. Welcome back to the next episode of BenWears. Stay tuned to find out what I wore last week. Hey everyone, it's Ben from TheBennScented. Welcome back, and if you're new, welcome to my channel. Please make sure to like and subscribe. But this is the new series I recently started called BenWears, where I will talk about the fragrances I wore the last week to also give you more insights, not only to how a fragrance smells and what my impression is, but how it actually wears throughout the day, how it evolves, and what the longevity is like. So without further ado, here we go. On December 11, I had just come back from my trip to Scent Explore. I felt like I wanted something a little rosier, so I combined Santal Royale from Guerlain together with the OG from June 30th. Like I mentioned, the OG really stood out as a fragrance I've never smelled before. And Santal Royale is a classic kind of rosy fragrance with some sandalwood. So instead of a oud rose, this is like a sandalwood rose fragrance from Guerlain. Absolutely beautiful fragrance. I wore it throughout the day and it kind of subsided, became very sandalwoody. And together with the OG, it just wore perfectly throughout the day. At around hour 8, it both subsided and became very skin scent-like. What did stand out until the end of the day was the rose from Santal Royale and the rhubarb aspect of the OG. So it was absolutely gorgeous wear. On December 12th. Now, December 12th was a Friday. On Fridays, I usually wear oud for many reasons. I did recently pick up Oud Oulia from Amouage. Oud Oulia is an attar, so it's an oil concentrate. So you put it on skin directly, you don't spray it, you put it on skin, you rub it because it's oil, you can. So that was the first day I tried it out. It was Friday, December 12th. I put on Oud Oulia straight out of the shower while getting ready. And at first, there was some sort of a skankiness that hit me, and I was a little taken aback, not because I don't like skanky oud, I wear skanky oud all the time, I just didn't expect that. But then, around 5 minutes after putting it on, there's such a beautiful vanilla note that really comes out. And the combination of that oud and the vanilla, I know they list civet. I didn't get civet at all. I think it just dirties the vanilla a little bit, so it's not this very bright vanilla, but it's more like a dark, spicy vanilla. This vanilla oud combination was so gorgeous that it really carried me through the whole day. Since this is an attar or dechen or an oil concentration, I usually put a fragrance on top, which was Oud Aquelaria by Oman Luxury. That fragrance is just absolutely bomb. It carries through the whole day. It smells like nothing else out there. It's a relatively soft oud, still in the skanky realm, but kind of like the more westernized skanky ouds that you can wear. And what I like is it really smells like nothing else out there. That fragrance is really long lasting. So Oud Aquelaria is a fragrance you wear for like 12 to 14 hours. It starts with an extreme projection, which subsides at a certain point and becomes like an arm length, which stays for I think 8-9 hours. But throughout this whole day, I will say that what did shock me in a positive way, it surprised me, was Oud Oulia. I kept smelling that oud vanilla combination, which was absolutely intoxicating. So that combination was great. Later on in the afternoon, when Oud Aquelaria was a little more arm length, I did want to play around a little bit with my newly acquired Rose of No Man's Land Absolu by Byredo. I think it's gonna be one of my favorite rose fragrances. Again, I love rose. If you haven't seen my top rose fragrances of 2024, here's the video. I'll definitely do an update where this is one of the top contenders. It wears beautifully. The only downside, I think, is it becomes a skin scent very early on. Which again, it's not that early, it's around hour 6 to 8, but I just like fragrances to project a little longer than that. But other than that, the scent profile is a 10 out of 10, honestly. Maybe not 10 out of 10, let's give it a 9.5 out of 10. But it was absolutely beautiful. And that together with the Oud Oulia, which still smelled throughout the whole day, I mean, that is bombastic. The longevity of Oud Oulia is truly the full day. So sometimes if I don't take a shower in the evening, it still smells in the morning. It's absolutely gorgeous. And the profile is just, you know, I wore 9.5 out of 10 that day. It was an absolutely gorgeous day, and that was the Friday. On Saturday, I decided to wear a currently Dubai exclusive Remain by Amouage. As I've mentioned when I reviewed the fragrance, it does remind me a little bit of Musk Ravageur, but it is a little spicier. So the reason I actually picked that up was because while wearing it, it really changed and really brought back memories of the original Musk Ravageur. and took it to a completely new realm. So I wore it that day. It's absolutely long lasting, 14 hours, no questions asked. The projection does subside a little bit, but it never really goes down to like a skin scent, which is really nice. So that was a beautiful wear on Saturday. On Sunday, I couldn't resist. I had to wear Oud Oulia again. I wore the Attar, and then on top I sprayed it with Oud Zeri, and I wanted to see how they combine. Again, two Cécile Zarokian fragrances go absolutely beautiful together, which was the reason why I paired Oud Oulia with Oud Zeri, and they go beautifully together. Again, comment from my wife is that Oud Zeri smells horrible at the beginning. In the afternoon, it was absolutely gorgeous. That was my wear on Sunday. On Monday, December 15, again, Oud Oulia, couldn't resist. I wore it again. It was then when I realized it might be one of those few fragrances where I want to get another bottle. It's just so beautiful. And again, the one I got is the older version of Oud Oulia. So the new bottle has this new magnetic cap with the classical Attar dabber, whereas the bottle I have has a beautiful round cap with a dabber that was created specifically for the Attar versions of Amouage. I mean, I'll have to be honest, I absolutely love the Attar. The dabber, the one that was created specifically for Amouage's Attars, I'm not too sure. It's one of those things, you know, I do wear Attars quite often. I do wear oils quite often, but something about that dabber, the way they created it, it's really bulky, so it actually falls out of my hand quite often, which is really annoying because, you know, a small bottle like that is like close to $600. And then when it falls, obviously the oil also spills, so you have to dab again. And you know, I know it's antibacterial, but all of them are, which is why those dabbers are usually made of glass. So that was kind of annoying. Oud Oulia again on December 15, and I combined it with a new fragrance that I just got called Vanille Caviar by BDK. Now, as most of you know, I absolutely love BDK for many reasons. You know, I mean, I guess I'm privileged to say that I know the people at BDK. And I have talked and know David Benedict, the owner and creative director behind BDK. And I will say, you know, knowing him, knowing how humble he is and what a kind person he is really makes me enjoy the brand more. Now, I do realize not many people have that same privilege, but that's my own take and that's taste. And ultimately, I will always report on what I think. And if there is a fragrance from BDK that I wouldn't like, I'd let you know. Vanille Caviar wore absolutely beautifully. Vanille Caviar opens up as like this dark vanilla fragrance. But what's surprising is that dark vanilla, which really smells like no other vanilla fragrance out there, really lasts all day. So I sprayed this on relatively early on in the day, and I smelled it even the next morning on my clothes. Absolutely gorgeous, beautiful fragrance. Now, of course, when I say I smelled it the next morning, it does subside, it gets to a skin scent, but I did get a whiff of it. That's what I mean. I don't know if it was an olfactive memory that came back or it was something on my clothes that reminded me of it, but it was absolutely gorgeous. It's a beautiful vanilla fragrance that really doesn't smell like anything out there, but it wears beautifully. It's absolutely elegant, and that was just a stunning wearing experience. Next day, I wore New York Intense by Fragrance du Bois. I wore it because initially I wanted to wear it for my New York trip. But for some reason, I ended up going for so many fragrances that I took with me and didn't wear, and I decided to leave this one behind. But New York Intense wore absolutely beautifully. It's got that oud amber base, which was beautiful and carried it throughout the day. You have a little clove, which gives it some sort of freshness, and then the blackberry cinnamon rose top was absolutely gorgeous. Now, it does not smell extremely thick. It does not smell extremely dark. It's a fragrance, in my opinion, that can be worn all 4 seasons. So it's kind of like a very interesting combination. But to my nose, it was absolutely elegant. That was it. It was beautiful. So before wearing New York Intense, I did end up going to the gym in the morning. So for the gym, I did end up wearing a Boss Bottle Beyond. Now, I really like this fragrance. You know, as you can tell and you will see, I don't wear a lot of designers, which I'm trying to change, but this was an absolutely beautiful wear. Yes, it is a designer fragrance, but in all honesty, this is one of my top contenders when it comes to blue fragrances. It wore fresh, it wore elegant, and if you ask me, you smell different than any Sauvage, you smell different than any Bleu de Chanel. So, you know, right now, this is my top contender, if not my #1 blue fragrance. It wore beautifully, it projected nicely. It was just everything you want from a blue fragrance, just unexpectedly from Boss. And I absolutely love that for it. I don't think there's any other blue fragrance that's more versatile than Boss Bottled Beyond. You know, I did wear it to the gym, but I wear everything to the gym and throughout everything just to test it out. But this one, you know, kept itself throughout the gym. It wore elegant, it wore masculine, it wore itself fresh. It did give some sort of fresh out of the shower vibe, but it did have enough differentiators to smell like an elegant fragrance rather than a shower jelly fragrance. So I absolutely love that. On Wednesday, I wore a new pickup from Scent Explorer called Blue Mai Tai from brand of Saloon Parfums. This one wore absolutely beautifully. It does have boozy aspects to it. Many people say it smells like rum. To me, it just really felt like a very fresh, blue, aquatic fragrance with a rum note to it. So I did think it was a little too much for the gym, a little too elegant for the gym, but Saloon Parfums creates fragrances around marine notes and water and aquatic notes. So having that with something that is elegant was quite interesting. So I really liked that. It smelled like a super elegant blue fragrance with a boozy note. Now, we all know boozy notes, especially from Kilian. This one was just a very different take, and I absolutely loved it. So for the summer, this might be one of my top contenders. On Thursday, I tried out another pickup that I actually got a few weeks back called Good Morning Midnight by Bottega Veneta. Absolutely beautiful fragrance. To my nose, this was the only fragrance that I wanted to pick up from Bottega Veneta for several reasons, but the main ones being they're so expensive. Bottega Veneta fragrances at this point are just so expensive. They tell you up front why they are so expensive. So of course you're paying for the juice and the fragrance, but they come in those beautiful bottles. This is how the bottle comes. You know, it comes with this marble flooring, which is completely useless. It looks nice. I mean, this really looks nice. The problem is, as you can see up here, one of these shelves is starting to bend a little. So because they don't have any stoppers or anything, the bottle started sliding forward and actually fell down. So I did end up hitting the bottle and scratching it, which was kind of annoying. But in any case, this is what you're spending all the money on, the marble and the bottle. So I didn't feel like I want to spend more money than on this. The cap is wooden. Don't know how I feel about that, but it's pure wood. So in any case, but this did stand out. The reason I picked up Good Morning, Good Night from Bottega Veneta is because when I smelled myself through the entire collection, this one was the one that stood out. This is like a typical oud fruit fragrance, like the trend that was started with oud maracuja. This one, however, smells absolutely different. It's oud strawberry, which to my nose, given that I review fragrances, given that I wear different fragrances and I like fragrances to stand out, smelled like nothing out there, so I absolutely loved it. But then I decided, let's wear it, see how it wears. So it wears beautifully. I did feel that this oud strawberry combination made the strawberry turn a little more citrusy than I anticipated. And it might be because of all the fixatives and everything and all the accords that were put into the fragrance to give that strawberry accord, because the smell of strawberry cannot be extracted directly. That may have turned it a little more citrusy. But all in all, absolutely gorgeous fragrance. The oud is a very Western oud. In the opening, you can really smell the Thai oud trat, which is beautiful. But it subsides and becomes like a very smooth oud throughout. The strawberry does turn a little citrusy, but it's absolutely gorgeous fragrance. I mean, it smelled throughout the whole day. At around 6-7 p.m., somebody asked me, what am I wearing? And I had to actually look what I'm wearing because I forgot and I couldn't smell myself anymore. But I think I just went nose blind. Absolutely beautiful wear. On December 18 at 9 p.m. we were meeting some friends, so I wanted to wear something that smells a little different. So I freshened up and straight out of the shower I wore Royal Oud by Creed and just topped it off with a few dabs of Valiant by Boadicea Victorious. It smelled classic, elegant, and very gentlemanly. So that was a beautiful wear. The Royal Oud did surprise me with its longevity. I mean, I did overspray because I overspray all the time, but it did smell absolutely beautiful. And of course, Junera Skin and Creation, what else can you expect? On December 19, another Friday, I wore, of course, Oud Ulia, which is an absolutely beautiful attar. And I paired that with Angam by Oman Luxury. So I decided to go with Angam because I initially wanted to wear material, but I felt like the amber and the oud I wasn't too sure how I felt about that day. Again, I have a lot of choices, so I went with Angam by Oman Luxury. It's an absolutely beautiful oud fragrance with an apple up top. Wore beautifully, wore throughout the whole day, and it got more elegant throughout the wear. I will say that this oud vanilla combination from Oud Olia was absolutely gorgeous, and I think that's what softened out the apple and made it such an elegant combination. On Saturday, I felt like I wanted to try something local, so I wore Abak by Al Majid Oud. It's a beautiful amber fragrance. It's a local Saudi brand, so people in the region will know what it is, but outside, I don't think anyone has ever smelled it. It's a very ambery fragrance and it's smoky. I loved it. I thought it's a beautiful wear. On clothes, it stays on like 6 hours, no questions asked. On the skin, I will have to say that the longevity was kind of fading at around 4 hours. 4 to 5 hours at max. So that was a little disappointing, but for the price, again, I didn't really mind too much. So for an amber fragrance, it was just gorgeous. The smokiness was very dominant in the opening, but throughout the wear, it became very amber heavy and it was just gorgeous. At night, we decided to go out as a family. So I wore Vanille Caviar, which is an absolutely beautiful fragrance and smells like no other vanilla out there. And I love the profile, so I wanted to wear it again to see whether I changed my mind. And I paired it, or I layered it with material from Amouage. Personally, I don't think it was the best combination ever, but it was quite nice because I supplemented the vanilla, the dark vanilla, with amber. However, material is such a heavy amber fragrance and is so dominant that it made Vanille Caviar kind of fade away, or at least that's what I thought. Next morning, now bear in mind, shower and sleep is in the middle. Now, I took a shower, went to bed. Next morning, I still got whiffs of Vanille Caviar. So again, I don't know if it's my brain liking it so much that it's giving me olfactive memories, or it really lingers on things I wear so much that when going into the closet, into the walk-in closet, I still smelled it. Or it lingers around so much that I smell it. But the moment I woke up in bed still, I did get a few whiffs of Vanille Caviar. So that was kind of nice. And on Saturday, I do have to say that I did try out Fantasque by Givenchy. So I ended up spraying Fantasque. We were out in the mall. I sprayed Fantasque from Givenchy all over. And the next morning, Vanille Caviar was still what I smelled. So stunning fragrances. Fantasque wore well, wore great. It kind of went to a skin scent very early on, or I went nose blind to it. But around 2.5 to 3 hours in, it started fading to a skin scent, which was a little disappointing, especially for the price you pay. But it's a very nice Bahoud rose fragrance that is just as well masculine as feminine. So absolutely gorgeous. Sunday, December 21st. Now I did want to feel a little fancy, so obviously I put on, again, as you can imagine, my favorite attar now, Oud Olia. Wears just beautifully, that oud vanilla. Actually, I have to be honest, that vanilla might be one of my favorite vanillas as of now. It is an attar, so I'm not sure I can put it in the same category as fragrances when doing my videos, but it is just so gorgeous. So I put on Oud Olia and I layered that with carved oud from Thameen. It wore beautifully and smelled gorgeous. However, I will say that carved oud, although I like it, I feel like it's a very subtle fragrance. Like it felt, instead of oud, it reminded me a lot of the Saffron Accord in Crystal Saffron by Matière Première. It was very saffrony rather than oudy, and I don't know if this was my perception of it or not, but it wore well. It just became a skin scent at around hour 5, which I didn't think it would, given it has the name carved oud in the name. But of course, Oud Olia didn't. I smelled it through the whole day. It was really nice. And then in the evening, because carved oud kind of subsided, I did top it off with Sicilian Leather by Memo Paris. And that was a beautiful wear. It had more spices than I anticipated, so that was kind of interesting. And it was fresher than I would imagine. It was a beautiful wear. And very nice. I got tons of compliments with it. I just didn't expect it to be so fresh. I expected it to be a little darker for 2 reasons. First of all, Sicily, I'm thinking the south of Italy, so they use a lot of leather. So I expected something very leather heavy. And then of course, Memo Paris, the leather line, is a little heavier of a scent. But this one surprised me as being relatively fresh. Not in a bad way, I just didn't expect it. But it was a great wear, good longevity, 6 to 8 hours, and then it became a skin scent. Gorgeous. So this is what I wore all the way from Scent Explorer until now, and I will continue doing these weekly. They won't be this long, but I'll keep you up to date with BenWears so you'll know the fragrances not only by how they smell, but also how they wear. Again, thank you so much for sticking around. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to stay up to date with anything fragrance related. Thanks for tuning in, and as always, stay scented.
Say it slow, say it clear, luxury loud when I'm here. The BenScented, from the start to the end, soft or strong, I set the trend.